Canto 4, chapter 24, text 72.
Yes, Maharaj.
Does that sound right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Yes, Maharaj. Good.
Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Today we're hearing from Canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 24, and verse number 72. Is that right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Idam iha purasmakam Bhagavan Vaskrit Vati Rig Gva Adinam Atma Janam Shrisrikshu Samsisriksitam. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This prayer was first spoken by us by Lord Brahma. This prayer was first spoken to us by Lord Brahma, the master of all creators. The creators, headed by Brigu, were instructed in these prayers because they wanted to create. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Brahma was created by Lord Vishnu. Then Lord Brahma created Lord Shiva and other great sages headed by Bhrigu Muni. These great sages included Bhrigu, Marichi, Atreya, Vasista, and others. All these great sages were in charge of creating population. Since there were not very many living entities in the beginning, Vishnu entrusted Brahma with the business of creation. And Brahma, in his turn, created many hundreds and thousands of demigods and great sages to continue with the creation. At the same time, Lord Brahma cautioned all his sons and disciples by reciting the prayers now recited by Lord Shiva. The material creation means material engagement. But material engagements can be counteracted if we always remember our relationship with the Lord, as that relationship is described in these prayers recited by Lord Shiva. In this way, we can remain constantly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, despite our engagement in the creation, we cannot be deviated from the path of Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for this purpose. In this material world, everyone is engaged in some particular occupational duty, which is prescribed in the Varnashrama Dharma. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and everyone are engaged in their occupational duty. But if one remembers his first duty, keeping in constant contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything will be successful. If one simply executes the rules and regulations of the Varnashrama Dharma in the role of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, and keeps busy and does not remember one's eternal relationship with the Lord, one's business and activities, as well as occupational duties, will simply be a waste of time.
Harivilas.
This is confirmed in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8. Dharma sonustitakumsa visvaksina pratasuyam not padayed yadiratim shama eva hi kevalam. The conclusion is that even if one is busy executing his occupational duty, his business in Krishna consciousness need not be hampered. He has simply to execute the devotional service of Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing, chanting, and remembering. One need not abandon his occupational duty, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 18:46. Yata pravritir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tam abhyachar siddhim vindanti manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. Thus, one can continue with his occupational duty, but if he worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Lord Shiva herein prescribes, he attains his perfection of life. Swanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Bhagavatam 1.2.13. We should continue executing our occupational duties, but if we try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our duties, then our lives will be perfected. Haribol. But if we try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our duties, then our lives will be perfected. Here it is. Very profound statement. Text 73. When all the Prajapatis were ordered to create by Lord Brahma, we chanted these prayers in praise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and became completely free from all ignorance. Thus, we were able to create different types of living entities. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, we can understand that the various types of living entities were created simultaneously at the very beginning of the creation. In other words, it all happened. By the way, this completely debunks the whole theories of Darwin. Everything was created at one time in the beginning of creation. There's no such thing as everything happens slowly by the process of Darwin's theory. Darwin's theory is junk. In this verse, we can understand that various types of living entities were created simultaneously, all at the same time, at the very beginning of the creation. The nonsensical Darwinian theory of evolution is not applicable here. In other words, Darwin's theory is junk. It is not that intelligent human beings did not exist millions of years ago. On the contrary, it is understood that the most intelligent creature, Lord Brahma, was first created. Then Lord Brahma created other saintly sages like Marichi, Brigu, Atreya, Vasista, and Lord Shiva. They, in their turn, created different types of bodies according to karma. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Kapiladeva told his mother that the living entity gets a particular type of body in accordance with his work, and that this body is decided upon by higher authorities. The higher authorities as appointed by the Supreme Personality Godhead, our Lord Brahma, and all other Prajapatis and Manus. Thus, from the beginning of creation, it can be seen that the first creation is the most intelligent. Okay, so that completely defeats Darwinism. He says, well, everything started from one uh, uh, one cell and evolved from that. That's not true at all. Thus, from the beginning of creation, it can be seen that the first creature is the most intelligent. It is not that so-called modern intelligence has developed by the gradual process of evolution. As stated in Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there is a gradual evolutionary process, but it is not the body that is evolving. All the bodily forms are already there. It is the spiritual entity or spiritual spark within the body that is being promoted by the laws of nature under the supervision of superior authority. We can understand from this verse that from the very beginning of creation, different varieties of living entities were existing. It is not that some of them have become extinct. Everything is there. It is due to our lack of knowledge that we cannot see things in their proper perspective. In other words, all the species were created at once in the beginning of time by the transcendental potency of the Lord. In this verse, the word dvasta tamasa is very important. For without being free of ignorance, one cannot control the creation of different types of living entities. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31.1, Daiva Netrena, bodies are awarded under the supervision of superior powers. How can these superior powers control the evolutionary process of the living entity if they are not free from all imperfection? The followers of the Vedic instructions cannot accept the Darwinian theory of evolution, for it is marred, meaning corrupted by imperfect knowledge. So far, so good for Darwin's theory. We just Prabhupada just threw it out into the junk pile of history. Yeah, so Darwin's theory is junk. It is not an explanation of how the different species evolved. They were all created at once in the beginning of time. They did not evolve over time. Text 74. A devotee of Lord Krishna, whose mind is always absorbed in him, who, with great attention and reverence, chants this sutra or prayer, will achieve the greatest perfection of life without delay. Interesting. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Perfection means becoming a devotee of Lord Krishna. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.28, Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramaka. The ultimate goal of life is Vasudeva or Krishna. Any devotee of Lord Krishna can attain all perfection, material gains, and liberation simply by offering prayers to him. Okay, let me read that again because it's important. Any devotee of Lord Krishna can attain all perfection, material gains, and liberation simply by offering prayers to him. There are many varieties of prayers to Lord Krishna, chanted by great sages and great personalities such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Lord Krishna is known as Shiva Varinshinutam, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.33. Shiva means Lord Shiva, and Garinchi means Lord Brahma. Both of these demigods are engaged in offering prayers to Lord Vasudeva or Krishna. If we follow in the footsteps of such great personalities and become devotees of the Lord, our lives will become successful. Everybody wants to be successful. Here is the real secret of success. Unfortunately, people do not know this secret. Nate vidu swata gatim ivishnum. They do not know that the real interest and the highest perfection of life is to worship Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Bhagavatam 7.5.31. It is impossible to become satisfied by trying to adjust the external energy. Without being a devotee of Lord Krishna, one can only be baffled and confused. To save living at peace from such a calamity, Lord Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam janmanamante gyanavam papadyante vasudeva savam iti samahatma sadurlabha. After many, many births and deaths, a wise man surrenders unto me, knowing very well that I, Vasudeva, meaning Krishna, am everything. Such a great soul is very rare. We can achieve whatever benediction we want simply by becoming devotees of Vasudeva. Okay, well, that's the secret right there of success. Real success is to become a completely surrendered devotee and engage with all sincerity and love and devotion for Lord Krishna. Vahanam janmanamante gyanavam mam prapadyante vasudeva savamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many, many births and deaths, a wise man surrenders unto me, meaning Krishna, knowing very well that I, Vasudeva, am everything. Such a great soul is very rare. We can achieve whatever benediction we want simply by becoming devotees of Vasudeva. There it is. The uh, the path of success in human life. Surrender completely to Vasudeva, Krishna, and engage in devotional service. Without surrender, there's not going to be any real, tangible spiritual advancement. So a wise man surrenders unto me, Krishna says, and this is after many, many births and deaths. A wise man surrenders unto me, knowing very, very well that I, Vasudeva, am everything. Such a great soul is very rare. Yes, there's so many people who are in so many different, you'd say, uh, um, engagements of sense gratification, and they're missing the real purpose of life because they're overwhelmed by their desires for sense gratification. But after many, many births and deaths, a wise man surrenders unto the Lord, knowing very well that Vasudeva or Krishna is everything. Such a great soul is very rare. We can achieve whatever benediction we want simply by becoming devotees of Vasudeva or Krishna. Okay, so we have become devotees by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. However, we have to maintain our position as a devotee by regularly following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. It is impossible, it says here, to become satisfied by trying to adjust the external energy. We're not going to adjust the external energy. Without being a devotee of Lord Krishna, one can only be baffled and confused. That's a fact.
Mhm.
To save living entities from such a calamity, Lord Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavamam Prapadyante Vasudeva Savamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many births and deaths, a wise man surrenders unto me, meaning Krishna, knowing very well that I, Vasudeva or Krishna, am everything. Such a great soul is very rare. We can achieve whatever benediction we want simply by becoming devotees of Vasudeva Krishna. Okay, there it is. The recommended way to be successful in life: completely surrender to Krishna and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. And believe me, such great souls are very rare.
Mhm.
Most people are trying to control the different energies in the world and be masters of things. We should rather be surrendered completely to Krishna and follow his instructions. That surrender is actually the path of liberation. Okay, text number 75. In this material world, there are different types of achievements, but of all of them, the achievement of knowledge is considered to be the highest because one can cross the ocean of nescience, meaning ignorance, only on the boat of knowledge. Otherwise, the ocean is impassable. Okay, so we should be on the boat of knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of Krishna, knowledge of devotional service, knowledge of how to surrender to the Lord and be a genuine devotee. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Actually, everyone is suffering within this material world due to ignorance. Every day we see that a person without knowledge commits some criminal act and is later arrested and punished, despite the fact that he actually may not have been conscious of his sinful activity. That's really terrible.
Mhm.
Uh, when you commit sinful activity without even knowing that it's sinful. Yeah, like walking down the street and purposely stepping on an ant,
Mhm.
thinking that, oh, it's really cool to step on an ant. It's not. It's very dangerous to do that because you're killing a living entity willfully. Not that the living entity wants to be killed, but you think it's cool to step on ants as you walk down the street. Such ignorance prevails throughout the world. What's that ignorance? Despite the fact that he actually may have been conscious, I'm sorry, uh, everyone is suffering within this material world due to ignorance. Every day we see that a person without knowledge commits some criminal act and is later arrested and punished, despite the fact that he actually may not have been conscious of his sinful activity. Wow, that's a very big statement. Yeah, like for example, there's the law of nature. There are many laws of nature, but one law of nature is if you engage in sense gratification, it'll be followed by uh, uh, misery.
Mhm.
It's the law of nature. The more sense gratification one engages in, the more miserable they become. It's a law of nature. It's not something haphazard. It is the a law of nature. You cannot stop it. You engage in sense gratification, immediately you'll be zapped by misery. That's why it says here, every day we see that a person without knowledge commits some criminal act and is later arrested and punished, despite the fact that he actually may not have been conscious of his sinful activity. Yeah, ignorance is not an excuse. Such ignorance prevails throughout the world. People do not consider how they are risking their lives in an attempt to have illicit sex life, kill animals to satisfy their tongue, enjoy intoxication, and gamble. It is very regrettable that the leaders of the world do not know of the effects of these sinful activities. They are instead taking things very easily and are succeeding in making the ocean of nescience or ignorance wider and wider. Oh my God. The ocean of ignorance wider and wider. Yeah. People do not consider how they are risking their lives in an attempt to have illicit sex life, kill animals to satisfy their tongue, enjoy intoxication, and gamble. Oh, that's exactly what my brothers used to do. And they all suffered like anything. It is very regrettable that the leaders of the world do not know of the effects of these sinful activities. They don't even know that they're sinful. They are instead taking things very easily and are succeeding in making the ocean of nescience or ignorance wider and wider. Opposed to such ignorance, full knowledge is the greatest achievement within this material world. We can practically see that one who has sufficient knowledge is saved from many dangerous pitfalls in life. Oh, that's so true. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavamam Prapadyante. When one actually becomes wise, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. Such a great soul is very rarely to be found. Yeah, we should all surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, only very few people decide to do that. But then, therefore, such a great soul is very rarely to be found. This Krishna consciousness movement is determined to open wide the eyes of the so-called leaders who are full of ignorance and thus save them from the many pitfalls and dangerous conditions of life. The greatest danger is the danger of getting a body lower than that of a human being. It was with great difficulty that we attained this human form of life, just to take advantage of this body and reestablish our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. Lord Shiva advises, however, that those who take advantage of his prayers will very soon become devotees of Lord Vasudeva, and thus will be able to cross the ocean of nescience or ignorance and make life perfect. Okay. This part of the Bhagavatam is called Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva.
Yes.
Well, what is that song? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Text 76. Although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshiping him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads this sutra or prayer, composed and sung by me, This is Lord Shiva that's speaking. He will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 1 second, I'm going to just look up something. Yeah, and let's see. Into 4, chapter 24, verse number 71, it says, King Ambarisha always fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord and talked of him only. Bhagavatam 9.4.19. We shall also take this opportunity in life to become as good as a great saint simply by not talking unnecessarily with unwanted people. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Muni Vrata. A vrat means a vow that one makes. So the Muni Vrata, or the vow of a genuine Muni, a real seeker of knowledge. The intelligence must be very sharp, samahita diya, and should always be acting in Krishna consciousness. The words etad avya sata drita indicate that if one takes these instructions from a spiritual master with great reverence, adrita, and practices them accordingly, he will find this bhakti yoga process to be very, very easy. Mm-hmm. Wow. This was Canto 4, chapter 24, text 71. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor vachansi vaikunta gunan varnane. King Ambarisha always fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord and talked of him only. Bhagavatam 9.4.19. We should also take this opportunity in life to become good as a great saint simply by not talking unnecessarily with unwanted people. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Muni Vrata. Vrat means a vow, and Muni means a sage. The intelligence must be very sharp, samahita diya, and should always be acting in Krishna consciousness. The words itad abhya sata drita indicate that if one takes these instructions from a spiritual master with great reverence, adrita, and practices them accordingly, he will find this bhakti yoga process to be very, very easy. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada, for such a wonderful purport. Okay, so we are on text 77.
Finished 76, Maharaj.
76. Okay. Although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshiping Him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads this sutra or prayer composed and sung by me, this is Lord Shiva that's speaking, he will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is especially significant that Lord Shiva is a pure devotee of Lord Vasudeva, or Krishna. Vaishnavanam yata sambhu. Amongst all Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the topmost. Consequently, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, a Vaishnava disciplic succession, called the Rudra Sampradaya. At the present moment, those who belong to the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya of Vaishnavas come from Rudra, Lord Shiva. Yeah, the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya of Vaishnavas come from Rudra or Lord Shiva. To become a devotee of Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, is very, very difficult. The word especially used in this connection is Duraradhyam. The worship of the demigods is not very difficult, but becoming a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, is not so easy. However, if one adheres to the principles and follows in the footsteps of the higher authorities, as advised by Lord Shiva, one can easily become a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, meaning Krishna. This is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. Devotional service cannot be practiced by a mental speculator. Devotional service is a special attainment which can be acquired only by a person who has surrendered unto a pure devotee. As confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj, Mahiya Sampada Rajo Vishakam Niskinchananam Na Vrinita Yavat. Unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.32. Okay, so we have to completely surrender to bona fide devotee or devotees. And amongst all Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the topmost. And consequently, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, a Vaishnava disciplic succession called the Rudra Sampradaya. At the present moment, those who belong to the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya of Vaishnavas come from Rudra, or Lord Shiva. Yeah, so there is the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya of Vaishnavas. To become a devotee of Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, is very, very difficult. The word especially used in this connection is Dura Radyam. The worship of the demigods is not very difficult, but becoming a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, is not so easy. However, if one adheres to the principles and follows in the footsteps of the higher authorities, as advised by Lord Shiva, one can easily become a devotee of Lord Vasudeva. This is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. Devotional service cannot be practiced by a mental speculator. Devotional service is a special attainment which can be acquired only by a person who has surrendered unto a pure devotee. As confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj, Mahiya Sampada Rajo Visakam Niskinchananam Na Vrinita Yavat. Unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. So we should seek out a bona fide devotee of Krishna and surrender. If we surrender to a bona fide devotee, we will easily cross over the ocean of material nature. In fact, that ocean of material nature will become smaller and smaller until it's the hoof of a cow. So it's very easy to pass over it. But if we are not engaged in devotional service, then that ocean is impenetrable. It's too great. We will just drown in that ocean of sense gratification. Okay, unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. Well, that's why so many devotees surrendered to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada's also sincere devotees. Text 77. The Supreme Personality Godhead is the dearmost objective of all auspicious benedictions. A human being who sings this song, sung by me, can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee, being fixed in the Lord's devotional service, can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. Well, a genuine devotee will only want devotional service for the Lord, not interested in anything else. Purport, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 6.22, Yam ladva chaparam labam manyate nadikam tata. If one can attain the favor of the Supreme Personality Godhead, he has nothing to aspire for, nor does he desire any other gain. When Dhruva Maharaja became perfect by austerity and saw the Supreme Personality Godhead face to face, he was offered any kind of benediction he wanted. However, Dhruva replied that he did not want anything, for he was perfectly satisfied with the benediction of seeing the Lord. Except for the service of the Supreme Lord, whatever we want is called illusion, Maya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadas. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyam 20.109. Every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, when one engages in the service of the Lord, he realizes the highest perfection of life. A faithful servant can fulfill any desire by the grace of the Master, and one who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has nothing to aspire for separately. All these desires are fulfilled simply by engaging constantly in the Lord's loving service. Lord Shiva shows us that any devotee can be successful simply by chanting the prayers which he has recited. Okay. Well, we have learned from Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava Acharyas to always chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translate text 78. A devotee who rises early in the morning and with folded hands chants these prayers sung by Lord Shiva and gives facility to others to hear them certainly becomes free from all bondage of fruitive activities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Mukti, or liberation, means becoming free from the results of fruitive activities. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.10.6, Muktir hit manyata rupam. Mukti means giving up all other activities and being situated in one's constitutional position, swarupena vyavastiti. In this conditional state, we are entangled by one fruitive activity after another. Karma bandhana means the bonds of fruitive activity. As long as one's mind is absorbed in fruitive activities, he has to manufacture plans for happiness. The bhakti yoga process is different. For bhakti yoga means acting according to the order of the supreme authority. When we act under the direction of supreme authority, we do not become entangled by fruitive results. For instance, Arjuna fought because the Supreme Personality Godhead wanted him to. Therefore, he was not responsible for the outcome of the fighting. As far as devotional service is concerned, even hearing and chanting is as good as acting with our body, mind, and senses. Actually, hearing and chanting, obviously, hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, are also activities of the senses. When the senses are utilized for one's own sense gratification, they entangle one in karma. But when they are used for the satisfaction of the Lord, they establish one in bhakti. Very nice. So we should always be chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. For the satisfaction of the Lord. Excuse me. Text 79. My dear sons of the king, the prayers I have recited to you are meant for pleasing the Supreme Personality of God, the Super Soul. I advise you to recite these prayers, which are as effective as great austerities. Oh, I like that. Which are as effective as great austerities. So we don't have to perform all these great austerities. We simply recite these transcendental prayers. In this, well, what is the transcendental prayer for us? It's the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way, when you are mature, your life will be successful, and you will certainly achieve all your desired objectives without fail. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If we persistently engage in devotional service, certainly all our desires will be fulfilled in due course of time. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, 24th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let's see something here. Where was this? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so let's see. Canto 4, chapter 24, text number 7. It says in the purport, since sacrifices are generally performed by fruitive actors, it is especially mentioned here, tatrapi, that although Maharaj Antardana was externally engaged in performing sacrifices, his real business was rendering devotional service by hearing and chanting. In other words, he was performing the usual sacrifices by the method of Sankirtan Yajna, as recommended herein. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. Devotional service is called Kirtana Yajna. And by practicing the Sankirtana Yajna, one is very easily elevated to the planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Out of the 5 kinds of liberations, achieving the same planet where the Lord resides And living with the Lord there is called Salokya liberation. Okay, so devotional service is called Kirtana Yagya, performing the Sankirtan Yagya. And by practicing the Sankirtana Yagya, one is very easily elevated to the planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Out of the five kinds of liberations, achieving the same planet with the Lord where the Lord resides, and living with the Lord there is called Salokya liberation. So there you are. This is what you would call the secrets. What is the secret? That that his real business, meaning the real business of a devotee, is rendering devotional service by hearing and chanting. In other words, he was performing the usual sacrifices by the method of Sankirtan Yoga, as recommended herein. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedana. These are 9 ways of surrendering to the Lord. Devotional service is called Kirtana Yajna, and by practicing the Sankirtana Yajna, one is very easily elevated to the planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Out of the 5 kinds of liberation, achieving the same planet where the Lord resides and living with the Lord there is called Salokya liberation. Well, now we know how to achieve Salokya liberation. Always chant the Sankirtan, always be engaged in the Sankirtan Yoga, chanting and dancing and feasting and glorifying the Lord by the holy name of the Lord. And there are 9 ways of surrender. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Atma Nivedanam, Nivedanam, the last point, is complete surrender to the Lord. Okay. So now we still have a little time. So we're on what, text 78?
Done, Maharaj. We finished all.
79.
Yeah.
Text 79, Canto 4, Chapter 24, text 79. My dear sons of the King, the prayers I have recited to you are meant for pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul. I advise you to recite these prayers, which are as effective as great austerities. That's good. In this way, when you are mature, your life will be successful and you will certainly achieve all your desired objectives. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If we persistently engage in devotional service, certainly all our desires will be fulfilled in due course of time. Well, when he says all our desires for Krishna consciousness.
Not
Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 24th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we should take this seriously, chanting the holy name of the Lord and completely surrendering all our activities to the Lord in form of devotional service. Okay, are there any questions anyone would like to ask? To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. This is our takeaway. Te san satatayuktanam pajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Thus, Lord Vishnu gives intelligence to his devotee so that the devotee can make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. Since the devotee has nothing to do with any kind of material possession, he does not come under the control of Goddess Kali or the Goddess Durga. Lord Shiva is also in charge of the tamo guna, or the mode of ignorance in the material world. His potency, the goddess of Durga, is described as keeping all living entities in the darkness of ignorance. Ya Devi Sarva Bhutesu Nidra Rupam Samsita. Both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are incarnations of Lord Krishna, but Lord Brahma is in charge of creation, whereas Lord Shiva is in charge of the destruction, which he carries out with the help of his material energy, Goddess Kali, or Goddess Durga. Thus, in this verse, Lord Shiva is described as being accompanied by dangerous potencies, Satya Goraya, and that is the actual position of Lord Shiva. Well, he's in a dangerous position. However, our takeaway is Tesam Satatayuktanam Vachatam Pratipurvakam Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam Yenamam Upayatite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is our takeaway today. Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Desam satatayuktanam vajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. This is Canto 4, Chapter 24, and verse number 18. Of course, we are far along past that, but we should pay attention to this verse, Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesam satatayuktanam bhajtam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. There it is. Wonderful statement. Okay, my dear devotees, we will ask if there's any questions or comments. Any questions or comments? Okay, no questions, no comments. Therefore, we will end with this takeaway. Second, let me see what the takeaway is. Okay, the takeaway is the following. Following is Canto 4, Chapter 23, and verse number 7, where it says, in Kali Yuga, the following is recommended. Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, Gatiranyata, Brihan Naradiya Purana. In order to be recognized by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should chant the holy name of the Lord continuously, 24 hours a day, Unfortunate persons who cannot accept this formula prefer to execute some type of pseudo meditation without accepting the other processes of austerity. The fact is, however, that one must accept either the severe method of austerity described above to become purified, or take to the process of devotional service recommended for pleasing the Supreme Lord Krishna. The person who is Krishna conscious is most intelligent, because in Kali Yuga it is not at all possible to undergo such severe austerities. We need only follow great personalities like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his Shastastika, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the holy names of Lord Krishna, which from the very beginning purify the heart and immediately liberate one. Bhava Mahadevagni Nivapana. If the real purpose of all yoga is to please Lord Krishna, then this simple bhakti yoga system recommended for this age is sufficient. It is necessary, however, to engage constantly in the service of the Lord. Although Pritha Maharaj executed his austerities long before the appearance of Lord Krishna on this planet, his purpose was still to please Krishna. There are many fools who claim that worship of Krishna began only about 5,000 years after the appearance of Lord Krishna in India, but this is not a fact. Pritha Maharaj worshipped Krishna millions of years ago, for Prithu happened to be a descendant of the family of Maharaj Dhruva, who reigned for 36,000 years during the Satya Yuga age. Unless his total lifespan was 100,000 years, how could Dhruva Maharaj reign over the world for 36,000 years? The point is that Krishna worship existed at the beginning of creation. So it's nothing new. This chanting of Hare Krishna is nothing new. And has continued to exist throughout Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga. And now it is continuing in Kali Yuga. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna appears not only in this millennium of Rama's life, but in every millennium. Therefore, worship of Krishna is conducted in all millenniums. It is not that Krishna worship began only when Krishna appeared on this planet 5,000 years ago. This is a foolish conclusion that is not substantiated by Vedic literatures. Okay, so we should continue chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without any hiatus, meaning without stoppage. That should be our position in this age of Kali Yuga, and thus become qualified to go back to Godhead very easily. Simply chant Hare Krishna and be happy.
Mhm.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Any questions, devotees? Then the class, Maharaj.